Good evening, students. I am Rohit, and today we will start with a new chapter, that is Directive Principles of State Policy. Okay, so without wasting time, let us start the chapter. Directive Principles of State Policy. This chapter is also called as DPSP. Okay. Now, in our examination, especially if you're preparing for SSC Defense or SSC Defense Railway or even other examination, but I'm not talking about the civil service examination. Then two kinds of question come in this examination. The first is the things related to DPSP. What are the features of DPSP? And the second is the questions based upon the articles of DPSP. Now there is one more type of question that comes in the examination, but that is only relevant for the civil service examination, and that is the dispute between fundamental right and DPSP. So there is one more area from where question comes from this chapter, and that is the dispute or conflict between fundamental rights and DPSP, and there we have to study the cases in which the dispute was settled by the Supreme Court. Okay, whenever the dispute arises between DPSP and fundamental right. I think we have already discussed basic structure. So what you can understand that basic structure involves basically a dispute between DPSP and fundamental rights. See, DPSP expect government to do the welfare. Okay, the DPSP expect that the government should do welfare of the society, whereas right to property is in the fundamental right. So whenever government tries to snatch land from the people, obviously fundamental right is going to be violated. That is right to property. So there has always been dispute between DPSP and fundamental right. So all these cases are not to be studied in today's class because those cases are important for civil services, not for SSC and all. Okay, so let us first start the features of DPSP. Okay, see in this chapter there are many articles. First we will discuss the features of DPSP and then we will start with the articles. Okay, so DPSP. First thing is, under which part of the Constitution this chapter is? So this chapter is in the part 4th of the Constitution. And how many articles are there? So there are total article 36 to 51. So there are total 36 to 51 articles in this chapter. Now one more thing. We all know that while framing the Constitution, we borrowed many things from different constitution. So DPSP has been borrowed from the Constitution of Ireland. And this is an important question even for examination, that from where DPSP has been borrowed. So DPSP has been borrowed from the Constitution of Ireland. But one more thing you have to remember, that Ireland borrowed DPSP from Spain. So Ireland borrowed from Spain, but when it comes in the examination, we have to tick mark Ireland. Okay. So this chapter is under part 4, article 3651. This chapter is this chapter has been borrowed from Ireland, and Ireland has borrowed from Spain. Now another thing, DPSP is non-justiciable in nature. DPSP is non-justiciable in nature. Now we have already discussed that what is the meaning of non-justiciable, and if still you don't know what is the meaning of non-justiciable, then understand, if anything is violated in the Constitution, suppose our fundamental rights are violated, so in case of the violation we will approach judiciary and judiciary will enforce those rights. So whenever anything is violated and which can be enforced by the court, then it is called as justiciable. So anything which is anything which is violated and cannot be enforced by the court is known as non-justiciable. So DPSP is non-justiciable. It means in case DPSPs are violated, in case the government do not adhere to the features or principles of DPSP, then in that case the court cannot enforce them. Okay, so DPSP is non-justiciable in nature. Now the next important thing. The next important thing is that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said something really important about DPSP. According to Ambedkar, DPSP is the novel features of the Constitution. Again, this thing is important. According to Ambedkar, which part of the Constitution or which of the following things can be considered as novel features? So for Ambedkar, DPSP is the novel feature of the Constitution. Okay, so these are the novel features of the Constitution. Then moving ahead, one more thing Ambedkar said about DPSP, and that was he compared DPSP with instrument of instruction issued by the British government under the Government of India Act 1935. So let me explain briefly what is the instrument of instruction. See, the British government passed an important act known as Government of India Act 1935. We all know that this act is known as the blueprint of the Indian Constitution, and under this act there was a mention of instrument of instruction. Instrument of instruction was specified under this act. Now, what is instrument of instructions? So, instrument of instructions are the set of instructions issued to the Governor and Governor General. Governor and Governor General. So, the British government under the Government of India Act 1935 issued instrument of instructions to the Governor and Governor General. Now remember, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar compared DPSP with instrument of instruction. So this is also important that Ambedkar compared DPSP with, then we can say Ambedkar compared DPSP with instrument of instructions. But the difference is that the instrument of instructions are the set of instructions given to Governor and Governor General. But DPSP are also like set of instruction given to legislature and executive. Legislature and executive. So the similarity is that instrument of instruction and DPSP both are like instructions. But the difference is that here the instruction is given to the Governor and Governor General, and here under DPSP the instruction is given to the legislature and executive. So this is the difference. So the comparison is between the instrument of instruction and DPSP. So this is one more important point that you have to remember. Now, after the comparison, let us discuss about the aim or objective of DPSP. Now remember, the objective of DPSP is to establish a welfare state. This particular point is very important. It doesn't matter whether you are for what examination you are preparing, but this point is important. You must know the objective of DPSP. So suppose this question comes in your examination that to establish a welfare state is the objective of which, then the answer should be DPSP. Okay, so aim and objective. The objective is to establish a welfare state. To establish a welfare state. Okay, this particular thing is very important. The objective of DPSP is to establish a welfare state. Now, after objective, there is one more thing. See, in democracy, there are total 3. The first is social democracy. We can say that there are total 3 dimensions of democracy. The first is social democracy. The second is economic democracy. And the third is political democracy. Now, why I am saying or why I am writing this? Because the purpose of DPSP is to ensure that there is social and economic democracy. So we can also say that one of the objective of DPSP is also to establish social and economic democracy. So the democracy has 3 dimensions: social, economic, political. The first 2 are established by DPSP, and the third one is established by fundamental rights. So remember, both DPSP and fundamental rights complete the democracy. Okay, so the democracy is completed by the DPSP and fundamental right. And remember, DPSP and fundamental right contains the philosophy of the constitution. DPSP and fundamental right contains the philosophy of the constitution. Philosophy of the constitution. And they can also be called as the conscience of the constitution. Conscience of the constitution. Okay, so is it clear that there are 3 dimensions of DPSP? Wait a second. Okay, so I hope this particular point is clear, that suppose this question comes in the examination that the philosophy of the constitution is under, then the answer is DPSP and fundamental right both. Or what can be called as the conscience of the constitution, then again the answer is fundamental right and DPSP. So you have to remember this point. It contains the philosophy of the constitution, and they are the constituents of the constitution. So whatever we have discussed right now are the features or things related to DPSP. Still, we haven't discussed anything related to articles. Okay, there are many articles in this chapter, but still we have not started the features of DPSP. Okay, so with this we are done with the things related to DPSP, but now we will start with the articles. But one more thing, I just realized there's one more thing in the DPSP chapter, and that is, see, DPSP contains ideology. Okay, now there are many articles in DPSP chapter. So the principles enshrined in the chapter can be divided into three parts. Okay, so what we can say that there are total three types of ideology in this chapter DPSP. So remember, the principles discussed in the chapter DPSP can be divided into three main ideology. The first ideology is Socialist. The second ideology is Gandhian. And the third ideology is liberal intellectual. So there are total three ideologies in this chapter: DPSP, Socialist, Gandhian, and liberal intellectual. But remember, this classification that DPSP can be divided into three ideologies is not mentioned in the constitution. Nowhere in the constitution it is written that DPSP contains the ideology of Gandhi, socialism, or liberal intellectual. This is what authors and experts have classified. Okay, after reading the chapter DPSP, they come to the conclusion that yes, these are the philosophies or ideology enshrined in the chapter DPSP. Okay, so one more thing that you have to remember in this chapter is this. Okay, so now we can start with the articles. Okay, so let us start with Article 36. See, in this chapter, it starts from Article 36 and ends at Article 51. But remember, the first two articles, Article 36 and Article 37, these two articles are related to DPSP, but they are not the principles of DPSP. The actual principles in this chapter starts from Article 38. So these two articles, 36 37, are just related with DPSP. They are somewhat like a clarification, which we discussed in Article 12, Article 13. Okay, so let us first start with Article 36. So Article 36 deals with definition of state. Article 36 deals with the definition of state. Now remember, we also discussed the same kind of heading in fundamental right. See, in fundamental rights, the Article 12 deals with definition of state. Now remember, in that article, Article number 12, we discussed that the definition of a state includes the legislature and executive organ of the center, state, all local authorities and other authorities. So whatever we read in Article 12, the same thing comes in Article 36. So remember, Article 36 is similar to Article 12. So what all we discussed under Article 12 is also to be understood in under Article 36. Okay. So Article 36 definition state, and what we can write is that it is same as Article 12. Same as Article 12. Okay. So you just have to remember Article 12, and whatever you read in Article 12, the same thing applies to Article 36. Okay. Both are article same. Now Article 37. Now what is Article 37? Article 37 says that DPSPs are fundamental in the governance of the country. So according to the constitution, which can be considered as fundamental in the governance of the country. So according to the constitution, DPSPs are fundamental. DPSPs are fundamental in the governance of the country. In the governance of the country. And it shall be the duty of the state, and it shall be the duty of the state to apply these principles, while making laws. So according to Article 37, these principles are fundamental in the governance of the country, and it shall be the duty of the state to apply these principles while making laws. So whenever the government is making any law, then the government should remember that there are certain principles enshrined in this chapter, and those principles should be incorporated whenever the government makes any law, because these principles ensure that there is a welfare state in our country, social and economic democracy established in our country. So this chapter is really important and no government can ignore this chapter. Okay, but one more thing which is mentioned in Article 37, and that is, in case they are violated, they are not enforceable by court of law. They are not enforceable. They are not enforceable by court of law. So this particular thing, that they are not enforceable by court of law, this shows that they are non-justiciable in nature. So which article declares that DPSPs are non-justiciable in nature? It is article number 37. Now article 37 on one side says that these principles are fundamental in the governance of the country and it shall be the duty of the state. But on the other side, DPSP are non-justiciable. It means they cannot be enforced by the court of law, and it actually makes sense. And why it makes sense? See, the primary purpose of DPSP is to ensure, the primary purpose of the DPSP is to ensure that the welfare of the people is ensured. So what is the purpose of DPSP? To secure or to promote welfare of the people. Okay, now for ensuring the welfare of people, what is required? The government must have resources. Without resources, you cannot ensure that the citizens in your country are living a good life. So in order to give them a good life, what is imperative? It is important that the government should have resources. But during the time of independence, we didn't have resources. Our government was devoid of all the important resources. So in the constitution, it was mentioned that the government should provide employment to people, the government should provide work to people, education. But for all this, government required money. And at that time, government didn't have money. So how come the government could enforce these principles? So that is why the constitution makers were also aware of this fact, that at present the country is not in the position to implement these laws, because for implementing these principles, you require resources, money. But at the time of independence, we didn't have anything. So that is why the constitution makers conspicuously mentioned DPSP as non-justiciable. So it depends upon the government. If the government thinks that it has resources to enforce such policies, then yes, the government can do this. Otherwise, there is no compulsion for the government to enforce these principles. So I think this is clear that why DPSPs were declared non-justiciable in the constitution, because the lack of resources with the government. Okay. And even one more thing, I just want to say that even to this day, it is not possible for the government to ensure welfare of all people. You must have seen whenever you visit any backward place, there people are not living a good life. I mean, they are still not able to avail basic facility. Still, water is not available in many places. People are still dependent upon the water tanker. Some are dependent upon the private water tanker. There is no, in many places there is no electricity. So still the government is not able to ensure the welfare of all, but because for ensuring welfare of all, the government requires resources. And how the resources will be generated? One of the ways to impose tax, but there is a limit to which we can impose tax. I mean, people do not have capacity to pay unlimited tax. I mean, they cannot pay any amount in the tax. Obviously, there is a limitation to which we can impose tax. Okay. So I think we are done with Article 37. Now we will start with the actual DPSP principles, and that is Article 38. I mean, it starts from Article number 38. So what is Article 38? In Article 38, you have to remember two things. The first is to promote the welfare of the people. To promote the welfare of the people. Welfare of the people. So the first thing under Article 38 is to secure or promote the welfare of the people. This is the first important thing under Article 38. Now the second thing is that the state should minimize inequalities. The state should minimize inequalities of income, status, facilities, and opportunities. So remember, under Article 38, you have to remember these two. The first is that the government should promote the welfare of the people. And the second is, we all know that there are inequalities in a country, and these inequalities can be of many types. Inequality of income, inequality of status, inequality of opportunity or facility. So the government should take a step to ensure that these inequalities are minimized. Okay, see, we cannot completely eliminate these inequalities. No, it is not possible. You cannot, unless the society is strictly socialistic in nature. I mean, either you implement the Karl Marx theory, Karl Marx principle, but if you cannot implement that, then you cannot ensure that everyone is receiving the same income. There are some jobs which generate good income, and there are many jobs which generate less income. So complete parity cannot be ensured, but yes, it should be minimized. Okay, similarly, the status, facilities, opportunities. Now, those who are rich, they have more opportunity. Similarly, they have more facilities. So these things cannot be minimized, and it is not only about our country. You can visit anywhere, in any plan. I mean, sorry, in any country, you will find that there is inequality of income, status, opportunity, facility. So this is something which is a fact, and we are not an exception. That in our country, all these things exist. But the fact is that the government should ensure that these things are minimized. We cannot completely eliminate it, but we can minimize it. Okay, but still we are far away from all these things. Okay, we are still far away from achieving this basic thing to minimize, because must have read this in report that the top 1% of Indian population holds around 40% of all wealth of this country. So this shows that yes, there is huge inequality in India. Okay, and we all have seen that there are only few places where you will find, for example, cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore. These are places where the GDP is actually generated, and the remaining part of the country is not that well developed. Okay, that is why there is a migration influx of migrants from all other regions to these places. So you see that there is influx of migrants from other states in Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore. Why? Because we have, I mean, the governments have failed to ensure that there is proper regional or balanced development. There is no balanced regional development. Some places in the state are well developed, whereas the majority part of the state is not developed. So that is why only few places are seen as growth engine. You cannot expect the entire state to be equal. Okay, there are only few places or few cities in the country. Okay, so this is Article 38, and one more thing which we need to remember, that originally Article 38 consisted of the first portion. The second portion was added by 44th Constitutional Amendment Act 1978. So this provision, that is to minimize inequalities of income, status, facility, opportunity, this provision was inserted by 42nd Amendment Act 1978. So this is Article number 38, and now Article number 39. Now remember, Article 39 is lengthy but important for your examination, especially Article 39 Clause B and Clause C. Okay, so what is Article 39? Article 39 consists of total 6 clauses. So the first clause is right to adequate, right to adequate means of livelihood, right to adequate means of livelihood for all citizens, for all citizens. Okay, so this is the first provision of Article 39. The second provision of Article 39 is, remember, second and the third provision are important. The second provision is equitable distribution of material resources of the community. Equitable distribution of material resources of the community. Third is again important. Third is prevention of concentration of wealth. Prevention of concentration of wealth and means of production. And means of production. You remember, as per the Oxfam report, top 1% of India's population holds 40% of wealth. When I say 1% holds 40% of wealth, this automatically shows that there is concentration of wealth. Concentration of wealth doesn't mean that the wealth is accumulated at a particular place. No, the top 1% of our population contain or holds 40% of wealth. This shows that there is concentration of wealth. The wealth is concentrated in the hands of few. The majority or 90% of this population is I mean, it's not living a good life. They are in poverty. The fact is this. I mean, those who are earning less than 25,000, I mean, 90% of our population is earning somewhat less than 25 or 30,000 per month. You know, 25 or 30,000 per month is far, far less as compared to what we see in other countries. Okay, so 90% of population earns less than 25,000 per month. So this is not a good situation in our country, because if you're earning less than 25,000 per month, then you will not be able to save anything. If you will not be able to save anything, then how come you're going to invest in your child's future? I mean, today education is important, health is important, and these all are expensive. We do not find good government hospital and good government school. So at the end, you have to send your child to a private school and private hospital in case if there is a medical emergency. So do you really think that with 25,000 per month or 30,000 per month, you can really expect your child to get good education? Because there are no good government school. In fact, there are only few good government school in our country, and the remaining government school are not in good condition. All those rich are not sending their children to government school, but they're sending them to good private school, and private school are expensive. So in fact, in India, this education is a big business. We see many good private school, but there are hardly any good government school. So it is high time for the country to think that what all things are really important for this country. We are busy in discussing useless things, but the fact is the real focus should be on education, health. These should be the priority area. No, if we really want to become a developed country, then we can become a developed nation only when we invest in these things. Health, education are really important if we really want to be a Vishwaguru. Without health and education, we cannot expect to be a Vishwaguru. If you are thinking that by doing this or doing that, by making reels, believe me, by making reels, we cannot become a Vishwaguru. Right now, the era is of artificial intelligence. We need a workforce which has the skill set required for artificial intelligence industry. But the youth is unemployable. I mean, they lack this kind of things. Okay, so it is high time for our country to invest in these sectors instead of discussing useless things. Okay, this is the actual scenario what we are seeing in our country. We are discussing all the nonsense thing, and the real issues are not discussed at all. So this is the second and third provision of Article 39. These two are the most important of all the provisions under Article 39. Okay, now the D is simple to understand. Equal pay for equal work. Equal pay for equal work to men and women. For men and women. Okay, so it is simple. If both men and women are performing same set of tasks, okay, then they should be paid equally. Okay, it should not happen that the men is paid more in comparison to women. Okay, both should be paid equally if they are performing same kind of task. Now the E is to preserve health and strength, to preserve health and strength of workers and children. See, during the time of Karl Marx, what used to happen? The purpose of capitalism is to ensure maximum profit, and in order to ensure maximum profit, sometimes the worker used to work for 20 to 22 hours. They used to get only 3 or 4 hours of sleep, or sometimes even less than 2 hours of sleep. So capitalists want to ensure that there is maximum profit, and in order to generate maximum profit, they were forcing the workers to work for at least 20 to 22 hours, which is unthinkable of as of now. Okay, you cannot expect to work for 20 or 22 hours. so that the industrialist is enjoying all the benefit and you are deprived of the sleep. So this used to happen at the time of Karl Marx. So that's why Karl Marx observed all these things, and then he proposed his theory or his book or philosophy, whatever you say, the communism that we actually know. So it is the tendency of the capitalists. Earlier, it used to be the tendency of capitalists to even involve children of young age to work for many hours so that the profit can be maximized. But later on, the world realized that there should be work-life balance. We cannot compel the workers to work for 16, 18, or 20 hours. So later on, all the policymakers realized that it is important that the workers should have a work-life balance. And that is why we see that in most of the places, the working hours are restricted to 8 or 9 hours. Okay, not more than that. Okay, and that is why you must have seen that there has been a debate lately about the work-life balance. Many industrialists are saying that you should work for all the 7 days. There should be 70-hour work week, 80-hour work week. See, if you really want to live a good life, then yes, there should be some time for you and your family. You cannot devote your entire time to your work. That is not good, I think. Okay. So I think the E point is done to preserve health and strength of worker. Now the F point. The F is, remember this F point was inserted by 42nd Amendment Act 1976, and this point is to provide opportunity for opportunities for healthy development of children. So it is the duty of the state to ensure that children get sufficient opportunity for healthy development. I mean, they should not be overburdened with these studies. There should be other activities also which take place in the school premise. For example, there should be proper games period. If India really want to improve its Olympic medal tally, then we must incorporate game as a serious, as a serious thing or serious part of our curriculum. But in India, we usually have one period for games in the entire week. Many times this has happened, or in fact, to this day, it is common that in the entire week there is only 1 or 2 games period. So, if we really want to be at the top of the this sporting era, or sorry, not a sporting era, in the Olympic game, then we really want to then we really should improve the curriculum. We should include sports as a period, and every day sports should be played by the students. Okay, so this is important. Okay, yes, hi everyone, all those who are saying hi. Yes, Jay, hi. Okay, so this F point was inserted by 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. So with this, Article 39 is over. So there are total 6 provisions under Article 39. The most important are equitable distribution and prevention of concentration of wealth. Now after 39, it is Article 39A. Now, as you can see, there is A. It means it was inserted afterwards, and it was inserted by 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. Now, what is Article 39A? Article 39A is to promote equal justice, and to provide free legal aid to the poor, Okay. Actually, I'm confused whether it is to promote equal justice or to promote social justice. I'm just somewhat confused with this, that whether it's equal justice or social justice. But yes, it deals with the promotion of equal or social justice and free legal aid to the poor. Okay. Because in our country, what you will see that those who are poor, they really do not have the legal knowledge, and because of this, they are exploited, especially by the police. Police often exploit those who are poor because police is also aware of the fact that they do not have the legal knowledge, and hence they can be easily exploited. Okay, so that is why to this date we see the example of exploitation by the police. Why? Because poor do not have access to good lawyers, good advocate, because they demand money and they do not have money. So that is why, in order to ensure that there is equal justice, the government should provide free legal aid to the poor. Okay. Now this is Article 39. Now the next article is Article 40. Article 40 is super important for examination. Remember, it is super important for examination. It deals with organization of village panchayat. Organization of village panchayat. Okay. Now this single article is very important. Now this particular article is super important for you. Which article deals with panchayat? It is Article 40. See, panchayat was inserted in the constitution by the 73rd Amendment Act during P.V. Narasimha Rao government. But before that, the mention of panchayat in the constitution was under Article 40. Later on, in 1992, the part 9 of the constitution, under which there is panchayat. Okay, but before that there was Article 40 dealing with panchayat. Okay, so that is why this is important. So Article 40. Now Article 41. Article 41 is right to work, to education, and to public assistance, in certain cases, such as unemployment, sickness, old age, or disablement. Okay, so ideally it is the duty of the government to ensure that people have right to work, people have good education, they have access to good education, and they should expect public assistance, that is assistance from the government, in case they are unemployed. So for example, in many countries or in few countries there is a provision for unemployment wages. Suppose the youth is unemployed, then the government will provide unemployment wages, so that at least he has certain amount of money with which he can live a decent life. Okay, not a decent life, then he can at least fulfill his basic need. So in many places, in many countries, the government is giving unemployed wages. Okay, unemployment wages. Again, sometimes when during old age, what happens? People do not have money. They have invested all their money in their children's studies, future. So they are left with no other option. So that is why the government should come in front and should help these people who are not in position to earn on their own. And then we have sickness. Suppose if you are having a fever, then the government should bear all the expenditure. So in many countries the health is free. Okay, suppose if you are hospitalized, then the government will bear all the expenses. Okay, and disablement, suppose you are you met with an accident and now you are physically disabled, then in that case the government should provide some skills so that you can once again start earning. Okay, so all these things are expected from the government, but again, because of the resources, we do not have sufficient resources to ensure that we provide unemployment wages to all the unemployed youth, to provide assistance to those who are sick, disabled, and old age. I mean, again, because of scarcity of resources, we are not able to provide all these things to the citizens of this country. Okay, so in fact, the situation is grim at present. We see the government is saying that 80 crores of citizens are getting 5 kg ration. So this only shows that what is the present situation of a country, and the government should really work hard if the government really wants that the standard of living of its citizens improve. So in order to improve the standard of living, then we must ensure that there is proper employment. I mean, there is sufficient employment opportunity for all. Okay, there are some good wages given to the workers. Only then you will be able to save money, invest in your child's future. Otherwise, you cannot expect. Okay, otherwise people are living from hand to mouth. Okay, so this is the present situation. Well, leave it. Article 41. Now Article 42. Now Article 42 is to provide just and humane conditions of work and maternity relief. Okay, see, I would like to again, I want to again discuss the example of the Karl Marx. See, during the time of Karl Marx, what used to happen? The workers used to work in such an environment which was not fit for humans. I mean, ideally we see animals working in that environment, but the workers were forced to work in that environment. So, since you are a human, you are supposed to have a condition which is fit for human. We cannot treat humans like animal. In fact, today there is discussion about ethical treatment of animal. Even animals also have right. You cannot simply start beating animals, or you can simply kill animals just because they are not of your race or not of your species. They are different species and you are different species. That doesn't give you the right to kill animals. Okay, so right now we are discussing about the ethical treatment of animals. They should also have good life. So during the time of Karl Marx, all these things used to happen. Okay, no proper environment for work, and humans were treated like animals. Small children were forced to work in order to maximize profit. All these things were happening at that time. Even at some places these things are still prevalent. I mean, in many African countries there is this kind of work environment. Okay, but those countries are dictators, so that's why you cannot even tell anyone, or nothing can be done because those are dictator country. In fact, there are many workers working in the Gulf countries. So the working environment is horrible. I mean, you cannot expect a human to work under such circumstances. In a small place, there are hundred of people sleeping. They do not have proper place to sleep. So many workers from India who are going to the Gulf countries as a construction worker, they are nearly not living a good life just because for the sake of money. They are going to the Gulf country and doing all the small jobs, petty jobs, and what they are getting in return? Only the money. There is no peace. Their health is deteriorated, so they cannot expect a good life, or they cannot expect that they will live for 70 or 80 years because the working environment is not that good. Their health is deteriorated. There is no proper medical treatment given to them. So this is the actual condition happening with the workers who are working in the Gulf countries. Okay, so Article 42. Now Article 43. Now Article 43 is in Article 43 there are many things. First is to secure living wages to the worker. To secure living wages to the workers. To secure social and cultural opportunities. Social and cultural opportunities. And to establish cottage industries. And to establish cottage industries in rural areas. In rural areas. Now one more thing, you must have heard about minimum wages. Wages required for living a life. I mean, all the basic necessities are covered under minimum wages. But when it comes to living wages, see, the idea of living wages is to ensure that you have enough money to spend on health, education, and insurance. So apart from all the basic necessities, you must have sufficient amount to invest in health, education, and all. Only then you can improve your standard of living. So you can improve your standard of living only when you have sufficient amount. I mean, if you are earning amount which is sufficient for your day-to-day expenditure, then you cannot invest in other things. Okay. And in fact, at present, the real situation of a country is that people really do not have money to invest in health, education, or other things. They can only buy the item necessities. Otherwise, they are not able to spend more than that. Okay. So this is article number 43. Now Article 43A. Now Article 43A was inserted by 42nd Amendment Act. 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. And Article 43A says that to secure participation of worker, to secure participation of workers in the management of industries, in the management of industries, in the management of industries. So this is the this is Article 43A inserted by 42nd Amendment Act to secure participation of workers in the management of industries. Okay. Now Article 43B. Now this article was inserted by 97th Amendment Act of 2011, and this article says that actually this article deals with cooperative societies. This article deals with cooperative societies, and it says that it deals with the autonomous functioning, voluntary formation, democratic control, and professional management. So remember, Article 43B says that there should be voluntary formation, autonomous functioning, democratic control, and professional management of cooperative societies. So even if you do not remember all these things, you simply remember that Article 43B deals with cooperative societies. And if you really want to understand, you can simply write this article deals with formation, functioning, control, and management of cooperative society. Do not remember the entire thing. Just remember functioning, formation, control, management of cooperative societies. Okay, if you are not able to understand or remember the entire thing, then just simply remember it deals with the cooperative society. Finish. Over. Now Article 44. Again, Article 44 is important. Why it's important? See, you must have seen that Uttarakhand has become the first state to implement Uniform Civil Code. Okay, so this particular article deals with the implementation of Uniform Civil Code. So we can simply write that Article 44 says that to secure Uniform Civil Code throughout the territory of India. So we can simply write it deals with Uniform Civil Code. Now what is Uniform Civil Code? See, at present we have uniformity in criminal laws. Now suppose you murdered someone. So at present, for simplicity, at present the crime the offense for committing a murder is minimum 5 years and maximum 10 years. So it doesn't matter whether you are Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, or whether you belong to this community or that community. It doesn't matter whether you are men or women. If you have murdered someone, then you are going to get the same punishment. Okay. So if you are from any religion, if you have murdered someone, then you will get the same punishment. Whether you are men or women, you are going to get the same punishment. This is because we have uniformity in criminal laws. But when it comes to civil laws are basically related with marriage, divorce, property inheritance. Okay, so in these areas there is no uniformity. Things varies from religion to religion. Suppose in Muslims there is provision for triple talaq, polygamy, multiple marriages by same men, but not for women. So in different religions there are different laws. So there is no uniformity. There is no uniformity in civil laws. So the purpose of Uniform Civil Code is to ensure that there is uniformity in civil laws. When I say civil laws, it means when it comes to marriage. Now, if there is only provision for one marriage, then there should be one marriage across all the religion. I mean, if you are a Muslim or Hindu, you should marry only one person. You cannot marry multiple partners. Okay, at present in Muslims, what we see that there can be multiple marriages. You can marry 3 women, but in Hindus there is no such provision. So there should be equality when it comes to the civil laws. So in divorce, what happens? In Muslims there is triple talaq. In Hindu there is something else. So why there is disparity? If there is provision for divorce, then it should be equal for all. So it doesn't matter whether you are a Hindu or Muslim, Christian or Sikh. The divorce should be given in this manner. Not just on phone call you have said talak, 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 and talak happened. No, there should be proper rules, or there should be proper provisions for the divorce. It should happen only through the court. You cannot simply recall the marriage just by saying or uttering the word talak. No, that should not happen. So uniform civil code basically means having uniformity in the civil laws pertaining to marriage, divorce, inheritance and all. So this is Article 44. Now Article 45. What is Article 45? So Article 45 deals with basically the education, to provide free and compulsory education. No, it's not free and compulsory education. To provide early childhood care, to provide early childhood care and education to children below 6 years of age, below, or children of 6 years of age, 6 years of age. Okay. Remember, by the 86th Amendment of 2002, the content of Article 45 was amended. Because see, before 86th Amendment of 2002, there was no fundamental right, that is right to property, right to education. Right to education as a fundamental right was inserted by the 86th Amendment of 2002. So before 2002, there was no fundamental right of right to education. So at that time, the content of Article 45 was different. But when the right to education was inserted in the constitution, under right to education, it is the duty of the state to provide free and compulsory education to children of 6 to 14 years of age. So now 6 to 14 years of age is already covered under right to education. So that is why the content of Article 45 was amended, and now it is saying that below 6 years of age. Now this is another target for the government, to ensure that children below 6 years of age receive childhood care and education. How they receive childhood care? See, Anganwadi is one of the way to ensure that children receive early childhood care. It is through Anganwadi that government tries to provide early childhood care to children. Okay, so now it is for the government to ensure that this is uniformly implemented across the country, and there should be some quality in it. Okay, so this is Article 45, which was amended by 86th Amendment of 2002. We are done with article number 45. Now Article 46. What is Article 46? Article 46 deals with SC, ST and other weaker section of society. So what Article 46 says that to promote educational and economic interest of SC, ST and other weaker sections of society, and to protect them from social injustice and exploitation. Social injustice and exploitation. So Article 46 basically deals with the caste and other weaker sections. See, when we say other weaker sections, we can also include women, because women are also considered historically as a backward, or sorry, not backward, as a weaker section. So women are also considered weaker section. That is why there are many policies of the government which specifically target or benefit women, not men, because government makes such policy because keeping in this in mind that women are historically weaker section. They have remained weaker section of the society because of all the restrictions imposed upon women in the name of culture and tradition. You must have seen that in the name of culture tradition, all these sorts of restrictions were imposed upon the women, okay, in order to preserve the dignity of the family. All these things used to happen only in developing countries. Developed countries have moved away from this, and now they are progressing. But still in our country, you find many places which are regressive in nature. I mean, you still find the restrictions imposed upon women. They are not allowed to work. They are not allowed to step outside their place without a male companion. So all these things are happening in backward areas of a country. they are still regressive in nature. They are still moving backward. They are not moving ahead. They are still imposing restriction on the what kind of clothes women should wear. All these things are happening in the backward and rural areas. Okay, but times are changing, but not in the manner which we expected after independence. The progress is slow, but still there is some sort of progress. Okay, still there are many things in which we need to work. Okay, I think we are done for the day. Today we discussed only till Article 46. So still there are few articles remaining. Article 47, 48, 48A, 49, 50, 51. These many articles are remaining, and in the next class we will first start fundamental duties, or let us start fundamental duties after some time, because in the next class I think I will start with the chapter President and Vice President. Okay, so we can do one thing. We can complete the remaining articles of DPSP and fundamental duties. This will take 30 minutes, not more than that. And after that, we will start with the chapter President and Vice President. See, from President and Vice President, we will be starting with the chapter Union Government. Now we will be discussing Union and State Government. Okay, first we will discuss President and Vice President, and thereafter we will discuss Governor. Because what President performs, what President does at the center, the same functions are performed by the Governor at the level of state. Okay, so after President, we'll be starting with the Governor. Similarly, while studying PM, we will also be studying CM, because what PM does at the center, the same functions are performed by the CM at the level of state. So all these things will be discussed in the upcoming classes. So okay, so we are done for the day, and on Monday we will start with the remaining articles, fundamental duties, and then President and Vice President. Okay, so bye everyone.